when you start to give yourself totally, that's when you really start to find what you can do. You can keep, just going along at 70% but you're never really going to get inside there and find out what you really have to give. I mean, we worked for 2 weeks before we went in with the opera. Stefan Lazaridis, the director, came out to Adelaide and we worked with the dancers for 2 weeks and set the structure really of the piece there. So, of course you'd always like more time later, but I think we got a lot done in that period that we may not have done, otherwise. I noticed when I came back from Germany, I was doing really bright, colourful works like Echo Point, Travelling Light, 2 Feet, which had a lot of humour and a lot of images that changed very quickly, Then I started working in Canberra when I had my company full time, and they seemed to go into sepia or something, or black and white, where, I did a piece about war, which I found interesting at the time that I would tackle something like that, but we lived very close to the War Museum, and I found that very inspiring, the photographs and the, things I discovered in the War Museum. And then I worked with women. So I started to do things like Nuti, the Egyptian piece. They seem to have a more universal tone rather than, men and women social sort of things. I started to get interested in myths and things like that. So that changed quite a bit. And then we went to Adelaide last year, and suddenly I had this space that was a fabulous rehearsal room, and I thought, oh gosh, I want to move, I want to dance, and we used every inch of that space, and I put the dancers on ropes and had them swinging through the air, and that was wonderful to just suddenly, have this freedom really, because in Canberra I had quite a small rehearsal space. And now working with the opera has been another something else to get into with the singing. We also did Songs with Mara, where Mara Keek taught us to sing in this Bulgarian technique. And that was a big change for me. I think if I had the time, I would love to involve singing in every piece, because I've discovered that all my dancers have wonderful voices and we love it. It just brings so much joy. It's wonderful to do. I often found it difficult to get, say, a producer interested in it, because I guess it's not ballet, it's not contemporary dance, so they couldn't put it into a little box. But I've always found the audience responded very well, I guess I would just like to lift their spirits and, touch their souls in some way that, they don't get in their normal lives. So if we can achieve that in some small way, then we've achieved something important, I've got a feeling in Australia that people are sometimes frightened of that, if you really put all your energy into that. A lot of people are a little bit scared, they expect it to be a job and they go home and they forget about it. But I think if you're going to do something, you may as well do it 100%, otherwise why bother? Oh, everything, really, everything. My dancers, I get so inspired by them and their energy, and when they open up and give me things, I'll just take it and use it, and I think that's my role really. What I get really excited about is finding, that special talent in there that is often hidden. I think we cover ourselves, with these layers of insecurity, fear, and I noticed doing 2 Feet again, I had to, get all of that out of me and find again this part of me that was just open and prepared to expose that. And once you find that, and if I can help my dancers find that in themselves, the door is just open. It's incredible. You can discover you're talented at so many things. I mean, we've found that the dancers who really keep giving and giving are just finding that, whatever they encounter, they can do it, and it's a wonderful experience, and that comes across to the audience too, really. And then I think we inspire them, and if we can inspire them, that's all we have to do, really. Thought, I can't do this, I'm 38, I just can't do it, I shouldn't be doing it. And then suddenly something just opened up, and I had this incredible freedom, and I felt I approached it, a lot of things were even better than they were before, because I had a different, thinking about it. And, of course there were all these other experiences in between, so I used all that too. So I think almost every time I keep performing it does get better and richer in a way. When I audition people, I just really want to see if they have a sense of humour, want to see if they're able to open themselves up, if they're really prepared to get rid of all those insecurities and just, I guess, be quite exposed on stage and vulnerable. And doesn't really matter what size they are. Oh, you said before that they were quite young, and when I audition, I open the audition up to anybody, right? There's no limit on the age, but I don't actually have older dancers auditioning. The average age is about 20 when I audition, and that I find that very curious, because I would be very interested in taking someone who's 30 or in their 30s, but I don't have that possibility because they don't actually turn up. Yeah. In Europe, people are dancing in their 30s, but I guess the companies that are here, most of the established companies are classical companies, or they're doing very technical contemporary dance that requires a young body, and so people don't think, that their body can't do that anymore, and they don't have anything else to give, but they have, a lot to give. So in a way, dance theatre, if we can have more companies, I'm sure we can have a lot more interesting performers. Dancers can get into that sort of mime mode where they just cover them. I always think that often they're plastic coated, they get so used to these large gestures and that they forget to be real, and it's like they're coated in plastic or something. So often when I audition, I try to get past that, and often a lot of them it's very difficult because they think they have to make a caricature of things. One audition thing I ask the dancers is, and Regis really likes this and thinks that I could actually not do any more in the audition, is for the people to walk across a sacred space, or a space that they feel is, special or sacred in a way. And I really ask them to do it naturally as they would anywhere. And I repeat that and repeat it, but they'll go across, with quite, caricatured gestures, and I often find that really interesting, But that's what I guess they think dance is. For me, there are no boundaries. I just think if we can keep learning, and I think that's important for the dancers to just keep developing their skills they have, and in all different directions. And if I have a singer, a fabulous singer, I want to work with that person and learn from that person too. If we have a musician who wants to work with the company, I'll try and, incorporate those skills and learn from that as well. So, as with Regis, who's a visual artist, who, he was very passionate about my work, so I wanted to involve him in that. And then we ended up using his slides and making them breathe in the performances. So, I just find it so exciting that all these people have learnt different things, and we can all work together, and make it one whole thing. I mean, that's what I found when I first came back to Australia was interesting. I found it difficult employing a lighting designer and a designer because often those people just expected to go away, thought I wanted them to go away and come up with a design. And I don't want to work with that. I want to integrate the whole thing, and I want the designers to enhance the work we're doing, not to go off on another tangent, and come up with their own. The whole thing must grow together. So I guess that's why it becomes quite a passionate process, because we all start working for the one, pooling our skills in a way for that one piece or production. I don't find it easy ever, but it's exciting. I mean, there are moments when it's just so exciting that something develops out of what you thought was just nothing, and this whole big thing grows, and it's, it is really exciting, exhilarating sometimes, yeah.